Hello everyone, this is Dr. Han for your interpersonal communication class. Uh, Good to see you all. I hope you all had a good homecoming weekend. I don't know how many of you have had took advantage of all of the events that happened over this weekend. I myself had quite a busy weekend. This weekend and had lots and lots of fun. Especially the football game was the highlight, and I hope that you all had a similar fun experience over this weekend. I can't believe that I am uploading this video at after 11 p.m. on Sunday. But in any way, to keep the promise with you, I'm um, trying to go over some important stuff about the midterm exam. And once again, I will be on campus on Monday and Tuesday. If you have any question, or if you need any help in terms of the midterm exam, or if you need any clarification, you are more than welcome to come to the classroom or come to my office hour. Okay, so our midterm exam this week will be like this. You all have the study guide, and it is also posted on WT class. This is the way that I came up with 22 false questions and 25 multiple choices questions. So total of 35 questions, but no open-ended or short answer question or essay question. Okay, so pretty much it is the uh, knowledge knowledge comprehension. What that means is that pretty much what is kind of question. Okay, there are some applicational questions, but an important thing for me is that you understand the concept, you understand the definition of what we have gone through in the classroom. All right, so 45 questions, and each question will be 2 points. That will be 90 points total, but the 100 points total will be midterm exam. So I will give you just the 10 points is a bonus. So you will start from 10 points and then build up to 100 points. Okay, so that will constitute 10% of our class, total class, okay, points. All right, so let's go through our study guide. Okay, so let me share the screen with you and let's see. So here is the study guide. You all have the study guide, and then it's pretty much the questions are evenly distributed. I will go through each chapter with about in terms of what to look at. Okay, so I want to direct you in terms of where to look at and where you can find all of those answers. All right, okay. Let's see. Chapter 1. What we did for chapter 1 is the PowerPoint that is posted on WT class. This is the generic PowerPoint that we used, and then we covered up until slide 13. Okay, so that's the point that those are the slides that we covered. Okay, so what is interpersonal communication? I think we pretty much covered a lot about this, but then you know what is important here is the difference between intrapersonal communication versus interpersonal communication in terms of the number. So if you see the question, one, okay, the communication within yourself is number one, right? The one-person communication is intrapersonal communication, and then two-person communication is interpersonal communication. Don't be confused. okay, with those. Okay, if you see any number related to, that number of a person related to the communicator, intrapersonal communication versus interpersonal communication is number 2. Okay, and then essential elements of communications. That is the slide. Let's see from here. Okay, slide from number 8. Okay, it involves people, right? Think about the telephone exercise that we have done in class. People, messages, noise, and then noise is pretty much, I think, the most important part in elements in, or it could be the most confusing elements in interpersonal, the models of interpersonal communication. Okay, so the noise, internal noise, it's psychological, and then external noise can include sound, sight, smell, all environmental stuff. So don't be confused with noise with the sound. It is not just the sound. Anything that interfere, okay, anything that can interfere with or impedes our inability to send or receive message. All right, so it is here. It's under the note. All right, okay. So if I am interfered with, for example, at this time, this is 11:30 at p.m., my daughter waking up crying, I have to stop and then go to my daughter, and then come back. So that's the noise. It's not just the sound, okay? Anything that impedes the smooth delivery of the message. All right. Okay, so let's see. Essential elements, the feedback, all right, positive, negative. Internal feedback could be your feedback. Oh, I am doing well. I am not doing well. External feedback could include either nonverbal or verbal, either ongoing or delayed response from your audience partners, conversational partners. Okay, context and effects. Okay, so up until effects, those are all elements of interpersonal communication. Okay, so try to understand it. And then you know what? What I actually recommend is reading or even skimming through the textbook. I really like reading textbook, and I think our textbook is pretty much both visually and textually attractive. So I would recommend that you read textbook and then the note, the side by side with your own notes as well. Okay, so use this time as a review of all of what have gone through in this class. All right, so that was chapter 1. Chapter 2, self-concepts. Pretty much chapter 2 is pretty much about the terminologies or concepts that we have gone through. All right, and in chapter 2, I uploaded my PowerPoint that I used in the classroom. All right, so this is it. We learned a lot about self-concept, self-image, self-esteem. What is self-concept? All right. What is self-concept? First of all, self-concept is different from self, right? Self is pretty much a fluid thing, and self-concept is rather persistent one, right? Self-concept is structured and difficult to change, whereas self is more than self-concept. It is the reality of what you are, who you are. Okay. All answers that are in my PowerPoint and in the textbook. Okay, so for example, self-concept. Okay. Self-concept is, once again, it is the structured concept, okay, whereas self is more fluid, and then how accurate is self-concept, okay, it's likely to confirm what we believe, so it doesn't have to be accurate. It is who you believe who you are, what you believe who you are, and it doesn't have to be accurate. And then these theories all explain about all of these. Okay, so let's see. Okay, self-image, self-esteem. I kind of skipped all of these, but these are all here, right? Okay, self-concept. Okay, self-image, self-esteem. All right. Don't get confused with self-worth. Okay, with self-esteem. Self-esteem can also include either high and then low esteem, right? So self-esteem is the term that I want you to remember. And then it can include both high versus low self-esteem. Okay, right. And then reflected appraisal theory, we have gone through that. All right. And social comparison theory, we have tendency to compare ourselves. All right, so if you see in the question anything about comparison, okay, so try to choose, okay, make sure to choose social comparison theory, whereas reflected appraisal theory describes mirror-like image, okay? Okay, so it is actually, you based on, you all have gone through that quiz one, so you all know the lesson. I think all of you have the lesson from there is that we didn't learn the mirror, image theory or mirror-like theory. There's no such theory name, okay? So if you see the mirror, try to think about reflection, and then that's about reflected appraisal theory, right? And then if you see comparison, and if anything that is about the description of comparison, that is social comparison theory. All right. Okay. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. Let's see, did I include all of those? Perceived self, expected self, ideal self. These are all defined here. All right, try to read through the notes and then get that. All right. Okay, self-fulfilling prophecy. I think I emphasized in the class that this is the cycle. That's the most important part. It has a stages and it works as a cycle. All right. Okay. Let's see. I think we have gone through all of those, but this is kind of the skipped part. So chapter 2 is pretty much about what is, okay? Try to match the theory with the concepts and explanation. And then the question looks exactly same as the quiz one. All right. Okay, so that this is the PowerPoint that is posted on the WT class. Okay, uh, chapter 3. Uh, chapter 3, what is perception? And then the attribution theory. So chapter 3 was, I think, the pretty much extension from chapter 2. But what we did in chapter 3, I think, was that, oh, I'm sorry, made a mistake opening that email. What we did in chapter 3 is we worked on Word documents. Okay, so we didn't do the PowerPoint. Okay, so there is a generic PowerPoint posted on WT, but I think this chapter summary, selected chapter summary that is posted, and then I think that you all have the note with you. Right, so what we worked on chapter 3 is the concept definition of perception. Okay, and then I think we included this question, right? We perceive the same social reality. Answer is no, we do not. There might be the similar pattern that we share as a commonalities, but we do not share, okay, the same social reality. Okay, the way we perceive social reality is the consequence of who we are, where we are, and what we choose to see. right? And then that is explained by standpoint theory, but we didn't tackle too much on this. Okay, so based on what we have done in the study guide, what I want you to focus on is the definition of perception. Okay, and then know that our perceptions are influenced by our surroundings, and then who we think who we are, right? Uh, Self-concept. Okay, and then the process meanings that selection process, organization, evaluation, interpretation, memory, and response. Okay, so we go through these as a structure of perception. Okay, and then we focused on let's see, uh, attribution theory. Let's try to find out attribution theory. Here we go. Okay, under the response, we have the attribution theory, and then I think I have, emphasized this several times in classroom about our this attribution theory. Okay, so I hope that you all at least remember the concept and what that is. Okay, it says that we assign meaning to others' behavior by asserting motives and causes, and then fundamental attribution better occur when we assume the primary motivation for behaviors other. Okay, other person is in the person, not the person's situation. Okay, we blame that person for the other person's fault. And then mistake, and then self-serving bias is that we provide reasons for our own behavior that overemphasize external. So when we make the mistake, external reason is the cause, whereas when other people make mistake, there must be internal reason for that person. Okay, so that is the attribution error. Okay, all right, that is pretty much about it. Okay, so those three are the most important ones, the stages of the perceptions. Okay, try to come up with those, then orders, and then vocabularies, right? Okay, chapter 4 is also the PowerPoint. Okay, we have done the worksheets, and you've done wonderful job with we did the reading and then the TED Talk watching, right? And then from there we tackle the textbook. Okay, hearing versus listening. Okay, so when you hear the sound, that is not necessarily the listening. Listening is way more action oriented, more active and voluntary. Okay, voluntary things. All right, I'm not sure if you heard the fan in my house right now, but that's the hearing, right? And then I hope that you are listening to me right now, listening in both stages right here, right? Okay, oh, oops. Let's see, here we go, right? Hearing, understanding, remembering, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. So in a way, you are all going through all of these stages by reviewing all that we have gone through in the class, right? Okay, stages of listening. Okay, stage 1, hearing. Stage 2, understanding. Stage 3, remembering. Stage 4, interpreting. Okay, evaluating. Uh, and okay, and responding. All right. Do you remember that I asked you? Okay, give me a question that proves that you listened to me in the classroom. Okay, so that is sort of the end of the listening, right? Okay, and then the styles of listening is the orientation. Okay, so styles, orientation. All right. Okay, so styles of listening include your the way you are oriented towards certain patterns of listening. People-oriented person versus action-oriented, content-oriented, time-oriented. Okay, and then you can take a look at the notes here. All right, what all of those means. For example, people-oriented listening focuses on the emotions and interests of others. Okay, and I think I said that I am pretty much people oriented, but at certain times, I have to be more time oriented, just like right now, right? I don't want to talk to you for, for uh, over the night, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So sometimes, we do that. Time oriented, expect speakers to get to the point, but people do have certain orientation, okay, as a way of listening. Whereas ways of listening is goal related. Appreciative is the more for pleasure. Comprehensive is more for knowledge. Critical is for analysis. Empathetic is for support. So, ways of listening, and under the ways of listening, there is the orientation, meaning the styles of listening, and what is your goal of listening? Okay, goals of listening. All right. Okay, so that is all for chapter 4, okay, that we have covered. Okay, try to once again try to understand what that means. Come up, understand, match with the vocabulary and then the meaning. All right. Uh, chapter 5. Okay, so after chapter 5 is that chapter 5 and 7 and 6 and 8, if you remember that. Chapter 5 is language. And then chapter 7 is conversation. That's the way went through as an order. In chapter 6 and chapter 8, that's non-verbal and emotion. Those are until all that are covered, okay, in this midterm. Chapter 5, let's see, okay, is my PowerPoint once again, right? Chapter 5, what is language? Textbook does have the definition for language, okay? Language is code or system, okay? And then it is arbitrary symbols, okay? So once again, word is not equal, okay, is not equal to the thing, meaning that word is arbitrarily to the arbitrarily put on the thing. Okay, so there is always the thought process occurred. Okay, and then we said that there is a certain different ways to call the table. For example, right? So thing is the table that we imagine, and then there is a word. In Spanish, it's mesa. In Japanese, it's teburu. Or in Korean, it's cheksang or table. Slightly different pronunciation, slightly different sound, right? That's a coding system. So it always goes through the thought process. All right. Okay. So this is the triangle or trio, language code trio. All right. Okay. And then the triangle of meaning. Okay, and let's see, denotative versus connotative meaning. All right, denotative is objective meaning. Okay, there should be certain definition for coffee, for example. So there should be certain definition for the room, but what coffee means to you versus, and then what coffee means to other people can be different. So that's a connotative meaning. All right. Okay. And we actually went through effects of language. Okay. These are problematics. Okay. The problems of language that we tackled. Among that, I want you to focus on euphemism. Okay. And then emotive language and bypassing. Okay. Euphemism. Okay, euphemism is that when substitute less direct or inoffensive thing, the word language, okay? But we might think that is a polite way and always good, but in class, in the textbook, what it said is that it doesn't change the nature of the thing. For example, I actually came up with an example of bearing the unbearable. Japan lost the war, and that language didn't change the reality, but it actually just altered the way that people see the reality, and we never know that is a good thing or a bad thing, right? Okay, or fire. Instead of saying you are fired, I will let you go. Why don't you take a break? right? But that doesn't change the nature of that, please quit and then please leave this place. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. That is why we covered that as a problem of the language, right? And then emotive language, let's see. Emotive language is that, you see the escalation of that escalation in terms of the way it evokes your emotion, people's emotion. War versus massacre, third word versus backward. Okay, emotive language announces our attitude toward the subject of discussion. Okay, right, and then bypassing is, let's see, bypassing is this one. Okay, think they understand each other. Okay, sometimes they think they understand each other, but in fact they're not. Or the opposite is also true. They think that they don't understand, or they're not sharing the same meaning, but in fact they are. All right, so we sometimes, it's also the language's role to come up with that the same reality, understanding of the reality. All right, to avoid or to help, to resolve those misunderstanding. Okay, so that's bypassing. Individuals think they understand each other. Two types of bypassing is seeming disagreement and then seeming agreement. All right. Okay, so once again, try to understand the concept and then those vocabularies. All right. Okay, so that was chapter 6. Chapter 7 was, let me see, no, that was chapter 5. And then we went to chapter 7, that is conversation. Okay, I'm going to go through the quickly about chapter 7. What is conversation? Right? Conversation is rather informal. Okay, let's see what is conversation. It's right here. Let me see. I think we have to go to uh, in terms of definition, the textbook covers the definition, but it is rather informal. Okay, I think that we said that conversation is rather informal, and then takes the two partners, right? The going back and forth of the message receiver and then the sender roles, right? Compared to public speaking, this is rather informal. All right. Okay, and then conversation works as a social lubricant. And conversation deprivation, I think this is the focus. This is the sort of the highlight of the chapter that we focused on. Okay, and then it's slightly different from the lack of communication. Conversation deprivation has a much stronger impact, okay, to the people and the relationship. Okay, so this is the most important part. Okay, and then conversation structure. All right, we went through the stages, the greeting, topic priming, heart of conversation, preliminary processing, and closing. And, what do you think is the most important? Okay, and then in fact, actually, each of these stages does have, does play important role. So in fact, there's no right or wrong answer. Okay, if I just agree to you and then miss the heart of conversation, I know that you would you would be disappointed. But at the same time, I just focus on the heart of conversation in class. I know that it's such a boring classroom. So, I try to combine all of those stages, okay, to capture all of those, the important the roles that can play in conversation. Okay, I hope that does make sense. That's chapter 7. Chapter 6 and chapter 8 were nonverbal. All right. Okay, I hope that these memories are still fresh to you. Okay, what is nonverbal? Nonverbal is all of these. All right, non-linguistic means, okay, and it includes appearance, object, sounds, time, smell, and space. So for example, in the quiz, if I ask you language, okay, is nonverbal. Okay. It is slightly confusing, but do try to match, okay? Nonverbal, anything non-linguistic. So that means other than language, right? So when I ask you, language is verbal. That is correct answer, okay? All right? I'm telling you clearly here, right? Language, verbal, okay? Non-linguistic, nonverbal. All right. Okay, so types of nonverbal cue. This is pretty simple, match with each type with each name. Okay, so each one had specific name. Let's see this one. Okay, so this is the most important chart in this PowerPoint. Okay, kinesics, face. Okay, paralinguistics is everything that comes with language. All right. So in a way, you might think that language is nonverbal. True, language, does have nonverbal aspect when we utter that. Right. Utterance include nonverbal aspect, and then that is this paralinguistics. Proxemics is the space. Haptics is touch. Right. And clothing and artifacts, that's appearance. Color, pretty simple, right? We all know what color is. Chronemics is time. So I think that in terms of terminology, what you want to remember is kinesics, paralinguistic, proxemics, haptics, and chronemics. All right. So, for example, chro means times, right? Chronological order, right? So, if you see chro, you should be able to come up with the time notion here, right? Okay. Uh, and I think this is sort of only chapter I came up with the culture influence. Right, let me try to find out where is a good one. Okay, culture modifies use of nonverbal cues. All right, so just understand, the nonverbal is not generic or not universal, right? I showed you the example. Uh, this is common, right, in here, but this is common in Japan, and it can look like this. And then, Japan does go away too. So nonverbal can be confusing because of those cultural inferences and contextual differences, right? Okay, finally, chapter 8. Emotions, all about emotion. Emotions definition, emotional intelligence, emotional ineptitude, emotion contagion, as meaning that emotion is contagious, right? And then facilitative versus debilitative emotion. Okay, so once again, that chapter PowerPoint is uploaded on WT class. Emotions, okay, definition. This is definition. Okay, it's not the description. It's not descriptive, but this is definitions. Okay, reactions to surroundings and other people. So it's your emotion, psychological reactions. That's emotions. All right, emotional intelligence. Okay, this is the skills. Helps us maintain emotional balance, right? Okay, and an emotional ineptitude means that low EI or low EQ. Ineptitude means that um, our inability to control emotional response, right? And we all have that moment actually. And some people have more sensitivity to certain situations, right? So understanding your ineptitude as the situational, the knowledge is also important. Okay, and then EQ or EI is social intelligence, right? And okay, surprise was the briefest of all emotion, and we covered all these types of emotions, right? And then the wheels of emotions. And this is another important slide here. Emotion contagions mean that, okay, people expose us to moods, and this is contagious. So regardless of your perception of you as moody person, or highly, I'm so influenced by other people's mood, or I am pretty independent, I am not. Regardless of those, the degree of the influence that you get, by definition, emotion is contagious. All right. So that's what it means by saying emotion contagion, right? People expose us to the certain moods, and then it's like germs, right? And then highly empathetic people, and then empathy is considered to be a skill to be able to identify, or come up with the appropriate nonverbal or verbal expression. Okay. And then this means that it doesn't mean that physically weak people, right? But it means that low empathetic people, okay, have relationship problems. Okay, so it's slightly different from saying that I know my feeling and I have, hold the responsibility for my feeling. It's slightly different from that. Okay, so what it means is that empathy as an important aspect to our relational skill, our relational skills, whereas that low empathetic people might have relationship problems. Okay, because emotion is contagious, and then there is a certain appropriate behavior involved and required, okay, as a response to people's emotion in interpersonal relationship. Okay, so all right, so that is about it. Let me end the screen share. Let's see. I'll leave the meeting. Okay, let's see. Feel like I meeting controls. No, it is not allowing me to do that at this point. But in any way, let's go back to let's see, let's go back to no, cancel. All right, let's go back to this one. I hope that this made you clearer in turn, at least where to look at in the notes, and then what to review. Once again, the study guide and then all of the materials that I just mentioned and went through are posted on WT class under the resource. And your question will be, you will see 45 questions, and then 22 in false, 25 multiple choices. There is no subjective or the open-ended question. Okay, so it is pretty much, what is the question, the definition question, matching question with some application questions. All right, and then you are welcome to toss out any questions that you have, confusion, to share with me. I will be happy to help you out. All right, so that was the review, and please feel free to share any comments with me. All right, this is exactly 1 minute away from October 11, and I will post this video right away, and you're all free to watch it. Okay, so this was all about the review, all of the review for midterm exam, and I will see you all in class this week. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.